All right, guys, before we get into this podcast, football's in full swing, and you know what that means. Prize Picks, go download the app right now. Use code Bradley, and if you put in $5, literally your first line at $5, they'll give you $50. So whether you win or lose, draw, doesn't matter. You're getting $50 for free. I guess if you lost, you got $45, whatever, doesn't matter. Code Bradley, download the app right now. Also, right now, Prize Picks just started adding picks during the game. So like if the game is already live, previously, if you didn't already have the pick in, it's gone. But now you could pick during the game. Obviously, there's a cutoff at some point throughout the game when like the pick, depending on whatever pick it is like you can't do it. But for the most part, you can do live picks. So give it a shot. Go to Prize Picks right now. Download the app. Code Bradley. Put in $5 on your first sign up. You get $50 literally for free. Win, lose, or draw. All right, let's get into this podcast.
Oh man, you got like the busiest guy ever right now.
I know.
Do you think you're more busy now than you've ever been?
No. Well, I mean, look, 2020, when I went full time Twitch streaming,
Yeah.
I streamed 42% of the entire year.
Every time I see, you know, when they measure like streamers and hours watched,
Yeah.
you're always up there. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
you stream like out of everyone, I think you're the most consistent streamer.
Yeah. Every day, baby. 11 a.m. Pacific time is when I start. And then I go to like 8 p.m. usually.
And did you always talk about politics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I first started originally, I did it because I was at the Young Turks back then. And I was like, I want a place where I can just like have my own thing. Cause like working under somebody else, like they just do whatever they want. Right.
Yeah.
So that sucked. I wanted my own place where I can have my own community and say whatever the fuck I wanted. But I started playing Fortnite. I strapped a PS4 camera onto my PlayStation 4 at the time, and I started directly streaming from, you could directly broadcast on the PS4.
I remember.
So I started doing that, playing Fortnite, and I would like have my other like journalist friends on, and we'd be talking about like Israel, Palestine while playing Fortnite.
Back then.
Yeah, even back then, even like all the way back in like 2018. So then I switched over to the desktop and, you know, and then I went full time in 2020 and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we did that interview on your stream, like in like you were getting like concurrent, not on, I don't know if on that day, but you during the election process, you were getting like 200, 300,000 people watching. And I think it's, for me, I kind of said this to you when you came into the live stream in my gym, but it's really interesting to see the growth of people like you in this space because it really highlights how powerful social media has become.
Yeah. Like it's wild. Like the numbers, especially in like key demographics, like originally the key demos that they care about used to be 18 to 35. They changed it because they were like, no 18 to 35-year-old watches TV.
Yeah.
So they went up to like 54. I think now it's like, they say like 25 to 54 or something is the new primary demo target for like TV ads. And even on that front, I'm like destroying most of the other TV networks.
Do you feel like, obviously you feel cool, but like, do you feel an obligation to kind of be a certain way? Like, do you know, because all your, like, I feel like when I first saw clips of you way back in the day, like your takes were like way more based.
What do you mean?
Like, no, you just said some, I've seen old clips of you saying crazy or people will bring up, but not that they're not based now, but like you just, have you felt like you had to be more left in like all your stuff?
No, if anything, I got more left now than I was back then.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Or well,
like you were more based then.
But not, no. More left as in like, I was more quote unquote woke, I think. Unless you're talking about like bro tip stuff, which is like way back in the day.
That's
what you're, okay. When I was like, when I look like Steven Crowder. Oh God, it's so embarrassing.
Yo.
Not even like the embarrassing, that I was trying to satirize, but like just the way I looked. That's from like 2013, I think.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do like a satirical bro show, but also like, you know, try to crack jokes, but also like cover the news and stuff too. But very quickly I was like, this is not, like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then we deleted them, and then people resurfaced them, and they always love bringing it up to be like, see, you used to say that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty open about it. Like I I I definitely was like way more misogynistic. I used to definitely have transphobic takes.
Yeah.
Like, and
That's what I was referring to, because I saw that.
But that wasn't like that wasn't because like I wanted to. Oh, okay, that's what you meant when you said base.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like become more cognizant of like the media environment. Like I organically became less transphobic. Yeah. I met trans people. I started questioning why I care so much about trans people. That was like, I think that was one of the major things for me. Was like, what the do I care about this? Like, I don't really understand why this is like something that I should even worry about. Like, whatever, let people do whatever they want. And I think that's like, that was the spark in my brain. But it wasn't like, it wasn't a deliberate attempt or anything. It was just like a organic thing.
Yeah, organic evolution.
Yeah. But in terms of like saying more left that I suspect people don't like, in terms of like, you know, saying we shouldn't be involved in, you know, bombing the global South and things like that. I think I'm much more.
But is that really a left take?
Yeah, it's the OG left take.
But I feel like everyone like doesn't want war.
Yeah, well,
except obviously the people that benefit from it greatly.
Yeah, everyone doesn't want war, or at least like people claim that they don't want war. But you know who wants war? Politicians want war. So I think like there's a lot of people on the right and the left who are like, yeah, why the are we giving like, let's say Israel $16 billion? Like, why can't we help homeless people? Or why can't we fix the potholes on the streets? And that's a pretty normal position. It's just it's not reflected in either party, really. Democrats historically used to at least offer lip service to that sentiment. But post 9/11, both parties are like, no, we have to do war all the time, stupid.
But it just sucks because like the more I get into politics is because like I felt like in the last few years I just couldn't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
The more I'm just like, does this ever really change? It just seems like a cycle of like, especially now with the not necessarily you specifically, but the social ecosystem that's created around now politics, where it's like anyone will say anything to get, you know, some sort of sensational response, where it's like they can say something about whether it's trans people or gay people or black people or some racist thing. It's like, people do this now, and whether there's any ounce of merit to it, which in most cases there's zero, but it's like they do it now because the algorithm, the likes, the views.
For sure.
And Twitter's become a place where I'm like, man, what the is going on here?
Yeah.
Because I remember last time we talked, I was like, I love Twitter. I do love Twitter.
Yeah, I definitely, last time we talked, I definitely love Twitter too. More than I do now, for sure. Or unless you mean like last time we talked on my stream.
No.
Like the last time I was on your pod, back then I used to get quote unquote canceled all the time on Twitter. Yeah. But it was ultimately meaningless, but it was, I think, more fun.
Whatever happened, I don't know if I don't know if you've ever spoken about this, so maybe I'm beating a dead horse here, but whatever happened with you and Ethan, like, because you guys had that show, The Leftovers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit. I'm sure he'll see this clip and get like really mad. But honestly, I think we just had like some, at the time, what I thought were minor disagreements. And I never really like paid attention to what he was saying.
About content?
No, about Israel.
Okay,
about Israel Palestine.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of October 7. But he'd always been like very pro Palestine.
But you guys stopped way before that.
No, we stopped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What the
We stopped like around October. That's when we were like, we're not doing leftovers anymore.
Okay.
So October 2023 is like, I think, one of the last episodes we did.
Yeah.
And initially, I think there was a lot of people that were very mad at Ethan, both in my community and also, more importantly, his own community, because he's very progressive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that he cultivated in his audience were like not really with his takes. Like they didn't really like it.
Yeah.
And I think because there was also anti-Semitism rising at the time, like he saw that as a major point of concern, understandable. And I assume, I can't know what's in his mind, but I assume that he was like making the assertion that these people that were mad at him all the time weren't mad because they were seeing clips and making up their own minds, but mad for some other reason, either because they were anti-Semitic or because like someone was priming them to be mad at him. And since our communities had merged at that time because of leftovers to a certain degree, I think he thought that like my takes were what was causing people to like hate him for what he was saying. And because it's such a touchy subject for a lot of people for understandable reasons, I mean, people are very black and white. And when they hear Ethan say something that like, you know, Joe Biden has said about Israel, Palestine, and they don't investigate it any further, yeah, of course, they're going to be like, oh, fuck you, you're pro-Israel and you're hiding it. You know what I mean? That's like the immediate assertion. And for a year after that, I didn't really investigate what his perspective was. We had a conversation, like last one we had was on my channel, where we had a back and forth and we had some disagreements, but we were on good terms for a year after that, pretty much. And then recently, I forget what it was. I think it was after Israel like decided to invade Lebanon, where I was talking about Hezbollah, which is the militant group in Lebanon. It's the Shia militant group. It's a part of the parliament as well. It's classified by the American government as a state terrorist organization. Not every country considers them to be a state terrorist organization, and they're a part of the Lebanese parliament ultimately, right? Like they're a political party.
Yeah.
And they're effectively the standing military of Lebanon. But it is controversial ultimately, even within Lebanon. So I was talking to a friend of mine and I said something like, I don't have any problems with Hezbollah in terms of like their resistance to the state of Israel. I think like this isn't about their, you know, sectarian politics, or this isn't about like their internal affairs. Like I don't give a shit.
Right.
Because that's not the reason why Israel is bombing Lebanon. They're bombing Lebanon because Hezbollah is retaliating against Israel for what Israel's doing in Gaza.
Right.
And he saw that, and I think that was what triggered him into, like, that was a trigger point where he was like, you're a radical. And then it spiraled out of control. I think he has done numerous streams at that point, like for months and months on end, all the way up until the election where he was like trying to get me deplatformed.
This is what I was saying. That's why we spoke about being censored more.
Yeah.
For you. Because I saw that on like something with Twitch and people then blaming you for like ad revenue and like
that was another community that also has been always up my this Destiny's community. And they've always done the concern trolling where they're like he'll say some unhinged all the time. Like he's debated child pornography, you know what I mean? Like he's debated
how do you debate
ethical
that?
CP. I don't know, but he's done it anyway. Like these guys don't have any boundaries, right? But then they will so very easily portray themselves like liberals who are concerned, and they do that very well. So they started this like mass emailing campaign in their Discord to like openly, actively brigade everywhere and take like a year's worth of clips that they had clipped out of context for one whole year. Like Israel starts bombing Gaza and these motherfuckers are like, all right, what's Hasan saying? Let's start clipping. Yeah. And they had it on a website called like HamasAbi. They're calling me like HamasAbi. Yeah. And they just had all these clips and they were like they spent spam emails to like advertisers. Like I went to USC because they wanted me to speak at the college. Yeah. And I was like, sure, I'll do it. Why not? They sent 27,000 emails to USC to try to get me not speak at USC. And it's really interesting because like in the email, I saw the email that they were spamming. And the email was like, he got banned off Twitch for saying a racial slur, which is true. I did.
What was the slur?
Cracker.
Oh.
But they didn't put that in the email. So they were trying to make it seem like I was this like crazy racist guy, right? And, you know, it's a fairly sophisticated mass brigading campaign. And it didn't really work, but they got some advertisers, I think, like were scared. Bloomberg wrote a report on it. Yeah. Some advertisers were like, well, we don't want to be associated with anything that's controversial. And but at the time they were like claiming that, you know, every advertiser is pulling out of Twitch. Twitch is having an adpocalypse. And Ethan at that same time was also like, you know, kind of egging that on a little bit, where he was like, these guys are really anti-Semitic. They're really radical. They're anti-American scum. That
but I
sort
don't
of
understand
stuff.
This anti-Semitic conversation is like, if you just say anything that's against what they're doing in Israel, just you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I mean, there's more nuance to it than that. Because, like,
That's what it, from my perspective, from the outside, it's what it looks like when I see stuff.
No,
I'm like,
I understand that. I mean, that's like the average position at this point. And I think that, yes, it is, for the longest time, Israel, both positively and negatively, has been associated with Judaism. It's not a proper conflation. It's false. Saudi Arabia, it does not represent like the entirety of Islam, and Israel does not represent the entirety of Judaism.
right.
But if every single person that goes on television is saying like, this is the Jewish nation, like, how dare you, you're being anti-Semitic, then yeah, of course people go, okay, maybe it is. Maybe everything they're doing for Judaism, and all the Jews love this, when it's not the case.
Right.
I mean, there's like a classic old Jewish saying, it's like 2 Jews, 3 arguments, where it's like, there's no full-blown, comprehensive, monolithic understanding of what Israel is and what it's supposed to be among American Jews, especially. That's not like a real collective ideal at all. But it's presented that way. It's presented that way by people who hate Jews, who want to say, you know, fuck Israel. They're doing this for Jews. This is how Jews are. And it's also being said by people who are pro-Israel and also themselves Jewish, or just pro-Israel and pro-Jewish. Like Jake Tapper says that. Like, I don't think Jake Tapper is secretly a neo-Nazi or something, but he's saying that because it's been a very apt way to deflect criticism, because nobody wants to be offensive, especially in progressive circles. You don't want to be offensive. You don't want to be a mean person. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to be called an anti-Semite. So you're like, whoa, okay, I didn't realize it was like that. It's usually just a way to stop the conversation dead in its tracks.
But so that's interesting though. That's like an interesting point where like why would certain conversations need to be just killed dead in their tracks?
Well, because I mean, it's kindness first and foremost. It's because people don't want to be a fucking asshole. I don't want to be an asshole, even though I am, right? But I think that's where it comes from. You don't want to be like a rude person. Maybe you do. I don't know. But most people, I think, don't want to be impolite. And if they don't have all the information, then yeah, they're going to trust you. They're going to take your word for it. If someone that you trust and like tells you Israel is the Jewish nation state, no Jew would ever be safe if it wasn't for Israel, which Joe Biden has said, you know?
Yeah.
When someone that you trust says that, you're going to be like, okay, well, I guess that's the case then. I'm not going to think about it any further. I don't fucking know. It's a country over there, far away from me. So most people just don't really think about it any further. Yeah. And then don't necessarily try to understand the full dynamic of the situation.
Yeah. As far as I guess it's interesting to me because you sort of had this like falling out with, you know, not necessarily falling out, but you have this falling out issue. Whatever you just basically explained with Ethan.
Yeah.
And like the left sort of commentating because you didn't agree with what they were saying. It kind of comes to what's going on right now with the right. It's really interesting to watch. But this whole conversation about the H1B visas and like Elon Musk talking on Twitter and Vivek Ramaswamy talking on Twitter and all these people like chiming in and kind of like somewhat attacking each other. And I know you're enjoying that.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love when right-wing infighting happens because it's like, it's rare. The left loves eating itself alive.
Yeah.
I mean, I get canceled all the time. It's not fucking real, but people yell at me all the time. They call me misogynistic, transphobic, racist, white supremacist. And then on the other side, everyone on the right calls me a pussy, soy for fucking defending marginalized people. You know what I mean? So, but the left loves doing that shit to itself. The right normally is pretty unified.
Yeah.
They're like, it almost feels like, you know, as long as we're fucking owning the libs, whatever that is, you know, we're good. We're good. We're on board.
So it's come from what? Basically the base, the Republican base for the most part, speaking out on behalf and kind of like seemingly or believing they're voting for basically a group of Republicans that are going to make America and put America first, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it's interesting because then, you know, Elon is basically saying like, yeah, we need these foreign workers. It's been a thing. And then everyone's attacking him because they're like, wait, what about all the people who, you know, could get the jobs here?
It's a tough argument to sell to people on Twitter, especially when you got like what, hundreds of thousands of tech layoffs, and you got American workers like training their H1B visa foreign counterparts. I'm an advocate for immigration. There's enough money to go around, certainly. And, there's endless potential everywhere, whether it's coming from India, China, or whether it's coming from an underserved neighborhood in the United States of America, whether it be some fucking West Virginia slum or Southside Chicago. There's a lot of unlimited potential out there that we have not even tapped into. So I don't necessarily care about those sorts of things, like in terms of immigrants coming in. I'm a fucking immigrant. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm an American citizen. I'm an anchor baby, but my father recently became an American citizen. So
my family would have been immigrants, so.
What?
I'm Italian, so they came and they were immigrants.
Well, there you go. So, but that's everybody. Everybody in America is, unless you're Native American, you can trace your lineage back to a point where you weren't on this fucking continent.
Right.
So, and there's always historically been resistance against newcomers anyway. When Italians came in, they were treated like shit. When the Irish came in, they were treated like shit. It's always resistance towards whoever's coming in. That the people that are there already are like, nah, fuck these guys.
Yeah.
And then, after some time passes, there's some growing pains. And then people are like, all right, never mind. These guys are cool. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it now. Like, it's not even a thing. If you were to be like, yeah, the Irish are not white, people look at you like, what the fuck are you saying?
Yeah.
So that's normal, and it's historically happened in America over and over again. And right now it's happening towards people coming in from Latin America, and also certainly now for the Twitter people.
India.
Yeah. But on the other hand, the reason why Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy want H1B visa workers is because they can exploit them better.
Lower wages, right?
Yeah.
I was looking all over Twitter. You see all the sort of the people in Tesla, the people who they have like lists and lists of people who are these H1B visa workers that are, I guess, I mean, I see the salaries, they're large, but apparently they'd be more large.
Yeah. No, it'd be at the minimum is like 20% cheaper.
And I understand, obviously, because
there's a currency exchange, right? If you're sending money back to your family and you come from a country where there's like a currency exchange rate that favors, the American dollar,
right?
That's automatically, you're like, yeah, I'll take a 20% pay cut. I don't give a fuck. And on top of that, you get to work towards earning a citizenship in the United States of America. Maybe bring your family here. So yeah, you're going to be very excited at the prospect. But more importantly, it's an additional pressure. Because if you lose your job,
you have to
then
go
you're
back.
You're done. Yeah. You're out. You're deported. Meanwhile, there is already pre-existing pressures for American citizens to retain those jobs as well.
Right.
What do we got? In order to be able to get to those jobs, you have to go to college. College is $100,000 to $200,000 now. You got to take on student loan debts.
Yeah.
When you take those student loan debts, you have to pay off those debts. So then you take a job that you normally wouldn't take. And you just take it and you gladly try to keep it to the best of your ability. You're vulnerable already. Another pressure for American citizens is healthcare. We don't have free healthcare in this country, unlike every other fucking comparable OECD nation, right? It's not like the Canadians are super woke or socialist or anything or better than us, right? They're not.
I've heard issues with free health. Not obviously, I understand like your point to have it, but there's also other issues that come along with it being free too, where it's like, I know people in Canada who can't even get anything done for 7 months. So
those issues are almost always as a direct consequence of underfunding. Politicians in countries like that, right-wing politicians, because they have right-wing, left-wing dynamics as well, like in the UK, for example, will systematically underfund healthcare deliberately. They do that so it's shit. They do that so it's understaffed and the hospitals look like dog shit. And there's not enough doctors and nurses, and the wages are low for the doctors and nurses. So when they fight back and demand higher wages, they're like, oh, we don't have money. Sorry. And then they turn around and go, we got to privatize this. They do that because they want to privatize it. They underfund it, and then they privatize it. They privatize certain aspects of it, and inevitably the entire thing becomes private.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal for them. And at that point, you turn into the United States of America.
So from your perspective, like, how do you actually fix this? Because it just seems like you obviously have people on one end who are like, working hard to grow a business, and they feel like, well, I don't want to pay for other people's shit. Right. That's like the whole beef with it.
But you're always paying for other people's shit.
No,
that's
I'm aware of that. I pay a fuck ton in taxes.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. Like I know I'm unique in this and people get mad at me for even saying this, but like, I don't have a problem paying taxes. It sucks that like it goes to, I don't know, murdering children in Gaza, a big chunk of it, and not to fixing the fucking potholes. But at the end of the day, even if a percentage of it is going to the teachers, if a percentage is going to the schools, then I'm like, yeah, you got to do that. And I think that is, unfortunately, that's not a very commonly held perspective because so much of our taxes go to like irrelevant shit that only benefits the corporations and the super wealthy.
So that's the really big overarching thing is like, how do we ever fix something that is just so money driven? I mean, it just, even this conversation about the visas, it's about being able to get the wage here, to have the leverage of the people that are, needing to be here at that certain wage, have to do it. Because if they don't, they got to go back home. They also make way more money here than they would there. So then it makes sense for the corporation to be like, yeah, of course we want that guy because we can pay him less. And he like has to
doing
work
the same job. He's doing more. He's doing more than the American citizen and Elon did this with Twitter. He went to Twitter and he fired 50% of the staff, right? Immediately, day one. He fired all those people. The only employees he kept were H1B visa workers. Why did he do that? Because those guys, if they get fired, they're going to get deported. So now you can force those guys to fucking stay there all day, every day, sleep at the office. They're basically indentured servants. That's what Elon Musk wants. That's what wealthy people want. They want to be able to get the most amount of time and productivity out of each individual employee. And the more vulnerable you are, like, the fear of deportation, the easier it is for your boss to turn around and be like, all right, I'm calling you up at 10 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. Oh, you got a fucking family emergency? You better get your ass in the office right now. I got a problem. If you say that to an American citizen will be like, no.
Yeah.
you
don't think there's any merit to at least what Vivek was trying to say as far as like the culture of like America and like there not being this work ethic. And he was kind of talking about the whole which I found really funny. The
nerds and the jocks.
The nerds and the jocks.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I didn't get enough pussy in high school, so that's the reason why Americans are getting too much pussy. They're venerating jocks instead of venerating nerds. It's like, no, that's just, he's a fucking nerd. And that's why he's saying that.
The thing that I wish Elon would have led with was he, after the whole shitstorm, he started to respond to people and was like, oh, there should be this like, we should fix this system as well. And then we should have like a sort of like a minimum or like so that it's the same if they hire these people or as far as like the immigrants or if they hire American workers.
Yeah, if they had wage parity.
That's kind of what he was going toward. He started talking about that like kind of after the shitstorm had
He would never in a million years look for that because then that's profit margins. That's hurting his profits. That's hurting his bottom line. He relies on H1B visa workers. I don't trust super wealthy people, billionaires, millionaires.
What if they do change that? Will you say sorry to Elon?
Are you sure? I'd be shocked because I'm of the mindset that these guys will say anything and everything as long as you're not focusing on the actual pressure points. As long as you're not focusing on who's fucking you over, who's robbing you blind, they're good. They're like, yeah, we should do price parity. They're never going to do that, but they'll say it.
Yeah,
That's
what I'm saying. Like it just.
And this is the Democrats too, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
Right,
like, I don't think the Democrats want to fix this shit either.
Government and politicians in general. I just wonder, like, does it ever actually become what you think it could be to be better, right? Because it just seems like we live in this world where it's this constant more, get more, take more, grow, profit margin, shareholders, like, and that controls this whole entire fucking nation and the world.
It seems like you're describing capitalism right now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in a sense, yeah, but it's like not even in a sense directly, but
that is what it is.
But that's the world. It's not like that's just going to disappear.
No, I mean, look, I'm a firm believer that that is not like inherent in human nature. You can be greedy, you can be selfish, you can be personally interested, but that doesn't automatically mean that we are also not social animals that constantly collaborate, that constantly work with one another and do it in like very invisible ways. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to always be pure profit driven. And
What
that's
do you mean
not like
invisible
some
ways? What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that is like there are additional motivators beyond making money that you engage in. You don't work out every single day because you want to make more money. The more muscle mass you put on, the more money you make. That's not a direct, a direct reason, right? You do it for yourself. You do it for self-improvement. This is something you care about. Same with me, right? Sure, the way we look definitely play into the way the audience receives us, and maybe it allows more people to listen to what you have to say or whatever. Right. But ultimately, there's a secondary reason for that, perhaps even a more important reason for that. And we do stuff like that all the time. There are additional motivators beyond profit that cause people to innovate, right? That cause people to do stuff, that cause people to collaborate with one another, problem solving. It's not always at the behest of the almighty dollar. We're not always, like, I'll give you examples of massive scientific, like in the field of medical research, there are so many innovative products that have come out. These guys didn't do it because they wanted to make money. They did it because they wanted to save lives. Like the guy who invented insulin in Canada, he sold the patent for $1. Now you got to pay fucking $1,000 to purchase it because a company bought the patent and then denied people the access to this life-saving medication that this guy fucking found and was like, I want people to be able to have this. Like, this is crazy. People should be able to have this. This is like going to save people's lives. This is awesome. He didn't do that. He did that collaboratively with a whole bunch of other people. Not a single person involved in that was like, think about all the money we're going to be making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always the dudes in suits that make the money afterwards. And they make it seem as though everyone only cares about money. Now, this doesn't mean that people don't care about money at all. Of course, everybody cares about money. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, money isn't everything. When you don't have it, it is everything.
Right.
I've been there. I know. It's very important. It's freedom. Having said that, I think there is a very different mentality that a lot of people have, especially at the top of society. People who are corporate executive CEOs, where they care almost exclusively about like endless expansion, profits over everything. Whereas I don't think the average person operates like that. I think the average person is trained to think like that is something that they're invested in. But deep down inside, like most people just want to be comfortable. They want to be able to have,
They want to be fucking happy.
They want to be happy. They want to be comfortable. They want to have a roof over their heads. They want a fucking nice meal, get some pussy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And have children, whatever the fuck they want to do. Play Marvel Rivals.
Yeah.
Have some free time.
So good,
have
dude.
some fucking free time for yourself, right?
But it doesn't. It just seems like it's so vast and it's so structured and it's so built already. There's no escaping it.
Yeah. Mark Fisher once said, it's easier to imagine the end of the world than imagining the end of capitalism. And it's true. I mean, we have, how many dystopian movies are out there, the world ending? Yeah. How many fucking movies are out there where there's, we've moved beyond capitalism? Star Trek is like the only example I can think of. So it's true. It's like deeply ingrained in our understanding. We think it's like human nature that like everyone is endlessly selfish and endlessly greedy. Conservatives always talk about the family. There's no profit motive in the family. The family unit has nothing to do with profits at all. It's about taking care of your own. It's about taking care of your friends. And I think that we can expand on that, taking care of your communities. And plenty of people have that attitude as well as the self-interest. And I think there needs to be a better balance of that. And right now the balance is tilted on the selfish profit side of things.
But that's my question is, how do you even make a balance like that? Like, do you think it just takes more people speaking like this?
I think that plays a role in it for sure.
Because it's like just speaking about something like, that's something like I'll see where, I even saw some tweet you made about the elites and you got a response from a bunch of like,
conservatives. They loved it, which is surprising because I was talking about like how they've destroyed public education.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the response, so Mike made a comment basically where it's like everyone's just gonna go back to talking about whatever, blah blah blah, and like that's how it feels. That's how all this stuff feels. Where it's like there's these like super pain points and these issues, and then people just go back to like, all right, well, where else can I make money?
We're easily distracted, especially with social media too. Like where I think back in the day, like shit would just be important for like a month, and now it's like 12 hours and then you're done, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but it's another cog. I mean, social media is another cog in that. You know, getting money.
No, for sure. I think money, attention, clout, admiration. There are definitely other motivators beyond money as well. But yeah, I mean, people can't stand on one issue and really hyper focus on it. But having said that,
like, would you do what you do if you made no money? If you were able
I did do what I was doing when I made no money.
Me too.
Yeah.
Not on social, because I was just, I mean, as far as being a gym bro and like training and talking about what I was doing, that's something I did.
But even politics, like this is something that I was truly fascinated by and something that I wanted to, like my opinions, I wanted to share with other people. So yeah, and this is something that I was definitely interested in. And I mean, for the longest time, it's not like I had this like massive audience or a shit ton of money. Like I didn't. Yeah. But I still did it. And I had virtually the same fucking opinions I do now. That's why you can go back. I always say like, you can go back to like any video from like 2016, 2017, and I'm literally talking about the same issues and I'm saying the same things.
And you were always kind of a gym bro, because I remember I think when I first had met you, I looked back on my DMs because I was a gym bro making gym content, and you would message me about like workout shit.
Yeah.
It was so funny because I went back and I looked at our DMs.
Oh, really?
I even remember you were like, I responded, it must have been years later, and you were like, fuck, I messaged you in 2016. You're
That's
like,
crazy.
It's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
No, but congrats on what you've done. For real.
Thank you. Well, I lost a lot of weight and then I gained it back in COVID. It was messed up. I was so depressed, dude. Like last time we did this podcast, I was still pretty fat. Yeah. Like last time when we had a lean beef patty at my house, like I was so fat even then, but I was at least like I was like more regimented at that point. Right. And like finally I'm back to a very comfortable place now. Yeah. And dude, that stuff I can't speak enough on, honestly. It's just like it really changes the way you see the world, working out and being physically healthy. Yeah. And I think most importantly, setting goals for yourself and being able to accomplish them and seeing the fruits of your labor genuinely changes something in your brain chemistry, where I just feel like because I've done it once, I'm like, I will be able to do it again. I'll be able to tackle whatever issue I want to, as long as I fucking put some time and investment into it and commit to it and develop consistency.
Before you figured that out, how did you get to that point when you didn't get that reaction? Because most people are like, for right now, right? It's New Year. Everyone talks about New Year, new me, all the shit that everyone says. And everyone's kind of like, not everyone, because some people get out, like you got out as far as like your goal and you actually achieved it. But to the people who are kind of stuck in that circle, what's your perspective, or what would you tell that person? And essentially, what did you tell yourself to keep going when it wasn't what you wanted it to be?
Yeah, I mean, I was fat my whole life, so that was the one thing.
You're also tall as fuck, though, to be fair.
No, that was definitely a benefit for sure. I could hide it, but like I was fat, I was still very insecure about it. And for me, I think I was like, when I first moved out here, I was surrounded by other like personal trainers. We were living in I was living basically for almost no cost at a frat house because I didn't have anywhere to live and I didn't make enough money to like be able to rent a apartment.
I've been there.
Yeah. So I was living in the kitchen of a frat house and like everyone was a PT.
Yeah.
So then, and I had more free time. So I was like, we just worked out. It was a social thing.
I'm surprised you didn't go more Republican with your views. I feel like most gym bros like end up going there.
I know. It's interesting because like, I don't know. I think being healthy is a thing on its own. It's not like a political thing.
Of course not. I'm just saying, you're absolutely right.
But I do see that, except for, Jeff Niverett, my boy, shouts out.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yeah,
I want to
that's
have him
my
on here.
homie.
Talk. He just released a book. I want to
Yeah.
talk to him about it.
That's my homie.
But what I'm saying is like, I mean, even in a sense, like, I guess I would consider myself more right, but like, it's not really. Like I'm open. I like to listen and I like to understand all sides of everything. I've always been that way.
Yeah.
I've never been like sort of dogged with like, if someone says this and, you know, they said something else that I thought then it was true, then I just go, okay, then everything else they say is true. I've always been like, I don't know, let me ask more questions. Which is why, like, in general, I like even love having conversations with you because I know we have such a different perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I guess why do you think people tend to, like, I don't know, just pick and stick in an echo chamber? And do you think
comfort.
Do you sometimes find yourself in that in your own?
I mean, oh, for sure. I it's comfort. It's a sense of community. Is a shared understanding of the world that is very comforting for a lot of people. People look for it in many different ways. And there's a concept of third spaces, places that you can go to where you can be around other members of the public, right?
Yeah.
Public parks, movie theaters, things of
Gyms.
that nature, gyms.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like now, because we live so much online, we spend so much time out of the day, you know, being online, like we don't really have that sense of community over mutual interests as much. So then we just like seek out these communities online. And I do think that there is definitely something very unhealthy about it.
Yeah.
Where it does like harden your viewpoints, and you constantly hear people that you agree with, and that can lead you astray. And it shuts off your curiosity. It shuts off your charitability.
I'd say especially now with the sort of like type of content that's seems to be most consumed, which is clips.
Yeah.
Because it's like people don't even get the full context of conversations now.
Ever.
And they just go, he said this, that's it.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, I'll give you an example. I went to Skid Row yesterday. Homelessness increased by 18% this past year. We have
Worldwide or nationwide?
No. Nationwide.
Nationwide, yeah.
So that means in the United States of America now, while we're having this conversation, there's more than 700,000 people that are sleeping outside. Okay? A lot of these guys are like addicted to fentanyl. There's a lot of drug problems. There's a lot of mental health problems. There's like crime. There's a lot of theft, assault, sexual assaults, and the like. It's horrifying. And it's a policy problem. It's a systemic failure, right? But the media also, I think, plays a role in dehumanizing homeless people. And especially when you see like the only interaction that you have with a homeless person is usually just like a person basically at the final stage of homelessness that looks like a zombie, that's like shitting outside of your house or jerking off outside of your house. You're like, oh my God, this is terrifying. Like, this is just like, you know, this is Bedlam. This is Gotham City. Where the fuck is Batman? Right? And the media also plays into that a little bit, I think, by like actively also dehumanizing homeless people. What was it? Soft White Underbelly, I think, does a pretty decent job of like showcasing the background and perspective of homeless people. There's a big YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen those, like the
I've
black
seen
and white
it.
interviews.
Yeah.
And you know, there's some people out there that do a decent job. But basically I saw that, and I saw so much violence that was happening against homeless people as well, and like the lack of interest from people like in seeing their humanity and seeing their background and seeing like that they're literally people exactly like your aunts, your uncles, people that you know, once had a normal existence,
Lots
a
of
normal
veterans,
life.
too.
Yeah, lots of veterans,
Lots of
exactly. And so I wanted to work with a local charity that already, like a local organization that already works on Skid Row, and go there, buy a bunch of materials that they need, and also bring some clothes as well. Like old clothes of mine, because people send me merch all the fucking time.
You didn't film this?
No, I did. The reason why I did it, and I didn't film like I didn't film like the homeless people at all. I didn't put a fucking camera on their faces. The people that we talked to wanted to, ahead of time, through this organization, said they wanted to share their perspectives. So the way I set this up is that, you know, we were doing a good deed. It's fine. I went and bought like a bunch of tarps, and apparently that's like one of the most commonly requested items, so they can build their tents. And which is like such a patchwork solution. Like, it's not even a solution at all. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy that these are people that are so desperate that like, it's just like, yeah, they want to build like that's housing material.
You
for
know what
them.
I can't stand on this conversation is that when the Olympics are coming or when China's coming to fucking, they fix it.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
They're building a bunch of like condos down there, but in the Olympic area.
Yeah, they don't fix it though. They just like literally shelve them. Like they come in and they do this thing called sweeps, which is ironically one of the things that I talked to them about. And they just take their shit. Like the cops come and they just fucking wipe out the street, right? And from your perspective, you're like, oh, finally, the streets are clean. Like, what the fuck? There's trash everywhere otherwise. Like, this is a good thing. But from their perspective, it's like they just had, like, basically they have nothing to begin with. And the things that they have value for them, like things that they care about, like, you know, a note from their mom or something, you know,
or
things
a generator.
that, like remnants. Yeah, exactly. Or remnants of their humanity, right?
Yeah.
Are just taken away from them. And it fucks their lives up. And then they get like slammed into like some shelter or something. They just like pack them there. And then, you know, a week goes by and they're like, all right, you can go back, you know, and then they have to start over again. And obviously the solution isn't to like let people fucking live out on the streets and just like do drugs out in the open or slowly decline mentally until they're just completely gone. The solution is, and this has been very successful in places like Helsinki and Finland, the solution is putting them into permanent shelter and then kickstart the recovery process. Because there's a shit ton of people that do fucking drugs, but they do drugs in their own homes and it's not the same problem.
Right.
It's very different when you're out, you know, braving the elements. And in that process, you're like, this is fucked up. Like, I need something to cope with this. And, you know, the person in the tent next to you is like, here, you want some crack? And he's like, sure, I'll take some crack. And then you become a crack addict.
Yeah.
So that's usually how it happens. But the conversation that I'm having with you about this is exactly what I wanted to showcase. And that is what a lot of these guys wanted to talk about directly.
What were they saying?
I met this guy named Hawk, 70 years old. He's a musician. He has a dog. He's a pit bull, and he just lives in a tent. And he's been in and out, and he's been on the streets for, you know, longer than 10 years at this point.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I met a guy named Glenn. Similar situation. I think 14 years of just like being homeless. He was just evicted. He was just evicted by his management company, and they didn't even give him any time to just like leave. He had a hard time paying his rent, but then he did a GoFundMe and was able to get the money to pay the rent, but they still evicted him. He mentioned that he was also doing drugs, and I think that's part of the reason, probably why.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the way I see it is like these people need help. Like they need counselors. You know what I mean? They need the people to go to where they're at and help treat the illnesses that they have, whether it be mental health complications, whether it be, you know, addiction.
Do you think that you could help everyone? Not you specifically, but do you think it's rational to say you could help everyone? Because there are people that, like, no matter how much you help them, they're going to end up somehow in the same sort of situation.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And the way I think about it is this: even if you can't help every single person, even if there are people who are just like unsalvageable, because we've all experienced that to a certain degree in our lives. You know, you just meet someone where you're like, dude, how the fuck do you keep fucking up? Like, how do you keep fucking up every single time? Like, this doesn't make sense. And they just don't learn their lesson at all, right? No matter how hard you try to help them. But I think just completely having a nihilistic perspective on the other side, leaves so many people, like the broad majority of people, in the lost in the margins, when those are the people you can actually help. And the entire system is broken from top down, and there are so many different pressure points that you can apply some pressure to. For example, the overwhelming majority, if not the entirety of the homeless population, is created because of the housing market. They get priced out of the housing market. And like the very common journey usually is that although there are people who, you know, do crimes or whatever, or like are victims of abuse when they're children, and then they do a bunch of, you know, they do a bunch of shady shit, and then they're in and out of the prison system, and then they're job opportunities are completely shut off. Now you can't pay for housing. There are plenty of people who have jobs, but because the housing market becomes insane, they just can't pay for housing. So they still retain their jobs, but they live out of their cars. But that becomes unsustainable. I call this the first, like the 3 tiers of homelessness. The first tier is the overwhelming majority of people who are housing insecure, that are either couch surfing or living out of their cars and basically still trying to retain their jobs. But there's no running water usually. So it becomes really hard. It becomes difficult to basically keep your job at the same time while you're, in this limbo.
It's funny having this conversation because there was a point where I lived in a car, my truck, and I would like park under fucking freeway overpasses. And I lived in people's like couches and it's tough having the conversation too because like I was in a position where timing was so. I mean, I can't even say it any other way. Like luck. God given. I don't know what it was where like.
No, it is luck. I say that all the time too. Like I told you, I'm living in a fucking frat house kitchen. You know what I mean? It like things could have been very different.
Yeah.
And I was definitely a lot more fortunate because like at least I had my uncle, you know what I mean? Even though he wasn't paying me all that much, but it didn't matter because like I knew that if push came to shove, like I had someone to lean on. A lot of people don't have that.
Right.
But that in and of itself is luck too. And you're absolutely right. Luck plays a major role in this. Hard work plays a major role in this. But at the end of the day, like the notion that people aren't working hard is silly. You got teachers in Oklahoma that have to fucking drive Uber at night after they're done with their, after they're done teaching so that they can make a living wage. Those people are working really fucking hard. You just don't see them. You don't think about them. You don't talk about them. And so we just write off all these people that are working their fucking asses off. Like they're not working hard enough. No, they are working hard. They're working a lot harder than motherfuckers like Elon Musk who tweet 700 times a day. It's just that he's at the top of society, so he gets to do that, and he can hire people to do the jobs and delegate his responsibilities to some of the top minds on the planet.
There is some merit to that though, to actually get there. It's not like, even if you had everything handed to you to still keep making the right choices to be able to continue,
of course,
there's merit to that.
Of course. Not everyone is always lucky all the time, 100% of the time. You can fail upwards. There's luck still. But there's luck in... What I'm trying to say is I got very fortunate too. Like, how the fuck was I supposed to know that someone who talks about politics 8 hours a day was going to go to a fucking video game website and be one of the top content creators on the video game website like for the past 4 or 5 years now? Like that's luck. Like I never thought that I would get to the level of success that I reached. Like that wasn't even my goal. I just wanted people to hear me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't discount that at all. People get mad at me when I say that though. They're like, "Oh, you think hard work is not important?" It's like, no, it is important. I mean, I stream literally still to this day 8 to 10 hours every single fucking day.
You fucking do.
I don't have to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
fucking nuts. That's what I said when you were coming to this interview. You were like, you streamed all day, and then you're coming to this interview, and then you're going to another interview after, and it's like going to be 9, 10 o'clock at night or some shit. So respect to that. Like, there's no way I can discount that. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, it's obviously not going to be the same for every person. Like, you can't save every person, but you seem to think there's a way, I guess, policy-wise to actually change that.
Yeah, I think it's better to try to make endless attempts at saving every single person. And if we try to focus on that, then we will be able to save the broadest majority of people that just that need like a helping hand, that just need to sometimes be heard. Something as simple as like, what's going on? What's your issue? Let me help you out. So many people are fucking lonely.
But that's not even a policy thing or a financial thing. That's just like a circle of friends or like a group that to have someone because the thing is like, let's stop it before it gets there, right?
Yeah.
But like that's like a whole different thing that you.
Well, the policy is important in that regard because stopping it before it gets there, you got to fucking normalize the housing market prices. Like, there's no way out of it. You know what I mean?
It is fucking nuts.
Yeah, you have to normalize the housing market prices. Like. And it's not about like fucking deporting 20 million migrants or whatever. Like that's not going to fix the housing market. It's going to make it worse, actually. Who the fuck do you think builds the houses? It's like 25% of the construction industry is undocumented migrants. Good luck. Imagine wiping out a quarter of the fucking workforce. You're not building houses no more after that.
Yeah.
So,
Because the companies will be like, this is way too expensive to pay these guys.
Yeah.
To do it.
So there's that issue. But even beyond that, like we here in California, especially, like, you know, Gavin Newsom acts like he's the woke king, the woke czar, but
Bro,
our housing situation is dire. It's really bad.
yeah.
We build units, but they're always like luxury condominiums. Why the fuck don't we have more affordable housing? It's because if you make more affordable housing, there's more inventory. And if there's more inventory, then obviously the price of houses are going to go down. And then all of a sudden, you own a house, I own a house. The price of your house went down. Let's say you took a mortgage out. Now you're fucking stuck paying this like expensive ass mortgage for a house that is no longer valued as high. And for a lot of people, that's their nest egg. So it's this like intricate web that is interconnected in very meaningful ways for a lot of people. 44% of people in California own their own homes, or at least like own a home, right? Yeah. That's 44% of people who would immediately be like, what the fuck? You just eliminated a piece of my net worth.
Right.
How dare you do that? And so it's a matter of like, who is going to keep getting pummeled in the system? And of course, the voiceless, poor, working class people are the ones who get fucked over in the system because they don't have the same defense mechanisms that a rich person has. Rich people can get together and be like, you're not doing that. They can buy politicians. They can host politicians in expensive dinners and shower them with gifts and become friends with politicians. They go to the same schools with the people that are in positions of power. Their children work under them. They send, you know, Gavin Newsom's, well, he doesn't have family. He used to date Kimberly Guilfoyle. I don't think he has family, but I don't know. But like Ted Cruz, right? Ted Cruz's fucking wife worked at Goldman Sachs. You know what I mean? You think she did that because she has a fantastic understanding of the economy? Is that what it is? Like all these people's daughters, and sons, they fucking go and work at all these corporations. How does that work? Kamala Harris's brother-in-law is the chief legal counsel for Uber, Tony West. He has direct access to the woman who was supposed to run the country if she won the election.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane to me. You know what I mean?
But like that's the thing that I'm not trying to argue for, because it's all kind of a wash, but like you can't, it seems like that will never be avoided, because there's that, at no point are you going to say like, yo, because like, what's the solution? Everyone is just the same?
No, that's not the solution.
Because like, it's like someone's going to work. It's also weird to think like, you know, am I just going to work super hard to try to achieve these things and then give it all up? But then at the same time, like, I understand the need in the humanity in it to try to like help more people.
There needs to be a underlying like base level of material equality. What Americans believe we have right now, which we don't have, is the equality of opportunity. And equality of opportunity means that like, it does not fucking matter what your background is, but you're getting the best education and you're not constantly desperate for your next meal. That's equality of opportunity. We can do that, but if we do that, then profits are going to shrink for major corporations, and we can't have that. That's just something that we can't have. And the system is designed in a way, especially the media, that plays a pretty important role in this. It's designed in a way to basically tell you to fear that reality. That reality is socialism. It's scary. Don't even touch that. That's, you know, if you get that, then, you know, that'll be like the USSR or communist China or whatever the fuck people say. I don't know. Venezuela. People will eat rats. And it's like, no, man, like, let's just get to Europe style, you know, benefits first. Like, is that okay? Those motherfuckers go on vacation for 3 months. Think about that.
You know, it's funny you say that, because every time, I swear I have people come from all over, but like there'll always be someone from like Europe or Australia, it seems as well, where there'll always be like at the gym, because I talk to these people in person. And they're like, yeah, I'm on holiday.
Yeah.
Holiday, they say.
What the fuck's
for like,
a holiday?
For like a month or two. And I'm like, what the fuck? I don't remember last time I took a holiday. If I took a holiday, it's because I was going to go film something somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm the same way. Like but we're in a unique industry. Like we're
right.
You know, we're our own bosses. So if you wanted to one day fuck off and, you know, do whatever the fuck you want,
right.
You could do that, right? But the guys that are doing that are like working at the mines. You know what I mean? That's not a thing in America.
Yeah.
There is no like 3-month vacation for an accountant.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a thing. There's no, and this is like legally enforced by the government, you know?
What do you mean?
There's paid family leave, there's paid emergency leave, and there's paid vacation. That is mandated by the government.
You're talking about in the UK?
In virtually every European country, there are different versions of this in their legal structure where the company is forced by law to pay a percentage and the government pays the rest of it for, the holiday leave that they get.
Instead, we're all just paying money to fucking...
Where we don't have
industry.
that. That's what, that is not even a thing that you could bring up. You have I guess in some states you have the state kick in with, a little bit of tax benefits that they give you, like you give a company to offer paid leave or whatever, and then they legally mandate it, but it's not necessarily commonplace.
Yeah. What's that right there?
Oh yeah, hold on. So I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you what I got.
This is oh my God. Yo.
You asked me.
This is crazy because
you asked me earlier, like, oh, do you pack Zins? I was like, do I pack Zins?
We didn't. But I didn't know you had this though. This is fucking
bro.
sick. So this is
don't open the top though. The top is for the discards.
Yeah.
But
this is like a 10, and you got Trump on here.
I got the
never
Trump.
Surrender.
The fight
This
Trump.
is fucking sick. Damn, I want this.
Yeah.
This is cool. Wait, how long you been doing this for?
It's been a while.
Yeah. You like nicotine?
I love nicotine.
Dude,
So I used to smoke. I used to smoke. Yeah, I used to smoke Cowboy Killers, Marlboro Reds, and I quit because of nicotine gum. And it was years ago. Like I quit years and years ago, but I never quit the nicotine gum. And then someone put me on this shit, and I was like, "Damn, this is so much better than nicotine gum."
What do you like about nicotine? Like, what does it do for you that you appreciate?
It improves your cognitive functioning. Has a chance to offset Alzheimer's, according to some studies.
Yeah.
Appetite suppressant, and it feels good.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, it's like, it doesn't just feel good where you're like, you rely on it. You know what I mean?
A Trump guy. I love that.
Wait, not even, no, I love shit like this. I'm a politics guy. Of course, I have so much, I'm more Trump merch than the average person.
I love it. Yeah, you came in with the shirt to train.
Oh, yeah. I was wearing the
I loved it.
Let's Go Brandon shirt. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, I love hog culture, as I call it. Like right wing culture is the fucking it's hilarious to me.
Why do you call it hog culture?
Because they're fucking, some of them are hogs, man. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's like the bro. It's just like
you got,
some
on the
bro
one
shit.
hand you got the libs, on the other hand you got the hogs. I make fun of both.
That's funny. I think that's, I honestly think like that's why you have so much success, because you definitely lean left for sure. And all your take
yeah,
heavy, but like. You get it. I think you kind of get both sides, which is, it allows you to have really good conversations about the stuff.
Yeah. There's a difference though. Like I can have a conversation with you. I can have a conversation with a Trump supporter, but if it's like fucking some nerd ass bitch like Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk, then it's like different. Because those guys are like, this is their job. You know what I mean? Their job is to like constantly actively be that guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm like that. I don't know. People think I'm like that, where they
think
like,
you're like that for the left.
Yeah, but am I like that? I mean,
I don't think you are.
Yeah.
I've had enough conversations with you privately and on fucking camera that
yeah. I'm a normal dude. Like if you see me off clips only, you're gonna probably develop a very different attitude of me. And I get that, but that's just the way that's just the way politics is in general.
Well, so that's the thing with politics. Like it's never going to be one. Like it's, and that ultimately leads to all the other issues we're talking about, which is like fixing the things. Because a lot of the things require a little bit of both.
Yeah.
To like really be.
Well, the way I see it is like, look, it's a distribution of power. Who gets to have the power? Who gets to have the money? Who gets to allocate the resources? And the only way to do that is through violence. Like that's just how it works. It's violence when, the state mandates something and you don't want to do it, and then they come in and knock your door and they tell you with cops that you got to do that, right? That's technically violence. We don't interpret it in the same way as like you punching a guy,
but it's force.
But it's still force. Exactly, right. It's violence. And this back and forth, I think, especially in American politics, like a lot of the back and forth that we have is over the minutia because it's designed that way so that you're constantly fighting with other people that have the same exact fucking interests as you, but you're like, you're like hyper focusing on the dumbest shit, like the dumbest shit that under other circumstances, if you were to take a deep breath and didn't have this sense of community being in these like echo chambers as well, you'd be like, why the fuck do I care about this? Like, why do I care about this? I just want to be able to pay rent. I just want to be able to, you know, buy delicious food and be able to eat it and
Which is,
fucking
this
play
is why
video
I
games.
think this is why the Republicans won this whole election, was because like they leaned for that.
They did, but they also definitely do the other stuff too, where they're like, the Democrats only care about trans people. They only want to like do trans bottom surgeries for, you know, Latino inmates or whatever the fuck. And it's like, that's not a real policy of the Democratic Party at all. It's like something that it's considered medical surgery. The Republicans also did it under the Trump administration as well. It's like, it's something that you would never even consider until it's brought in front of you. And then you're like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense at all. This makes me mad. And if you investigated a little bit further, you probably would develop a different understanding over it. But in that moment, it just seems like it's the most significant thing. It's the most important thing that everybody needs to focus on. When in fact, it's just like so minor.
So how does that change? That doesn't change, especially now if like everyone's just watching clips. Like, how does that ever actually change?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Since we just keep making new clips.
Yeah, well, the way I see it is like I've always had this policy where like people say a whole number of different things about me, where I'm like, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. I don't give a fuck if you watch more than like 30 minutes of my content, not from the lens of someone who just like fucking hates me and wants you to hate me too. You'll pretty quickly understand where I'm coming from and what I believe, and that you will be able to make this assumption for yourself that whether or not everything that people were saying was true or not, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to change my mentality because other people think I'm a certain way. I don't know. I just have firmly held beliefs, and I stand by it, and I do things regardless of what people are saying. Going back to the Skid Row conversation, the reason why I brought it up originally, and this goes back to the clips as well. Someone in my chat, before I even did it, immediately was like, well, don't you think you're exploiting homeless people? And there are people who do that. There are people who like go there and they're just like, and even when we first went there was a guy there that was like a little bit worried at first.
The worst though are the people who go up and they're like, look at me, give this guy stuff.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Bro, go fuck yourself.
Exactly. And they came in hot, like locked and loaded to be like, you know, the one friend who's too woke. They were like, you're going to fucking go give them stuff and you're going to exploit them. You're going to exploit homeless people. And it's like, no, dumbass. Like, there is a very obvious reason why I'm doing this. And I'm doing this in the most ethical way possible, where like, I already do a shit ton of charity. I do it on camera. I do it off camera. I do fundraisers. I give money. I donate myself. I work with mutual aid organizations myself. The reason why I'm doing this on camera today is because I'm working with a local charity that is excited at this opportunity, so we can fundraise with them. We raised like 20 grand in the process, to urge other people to be able to urge other people to go and do it themselves in their own neighborhoods, because it is a truly rewarding experience. Like, at this point, I've raised, I think last year I raised like 3 million, and this year I raised another 3 mil, maybe a little bit more than that.
In different sort of
for various different charities, like, you know, earthquake relief, Palestine. And I've also given probably almost 1 million of my own at this point.
Yeah.
If not more. I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't matter. It is that all of that is nowhere near as fulfilling as like going out there.
Everyone's
and
going to be like, tax write-off. Good shit.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers will be like, oh, he's rich. He doesn't donate his money.
He needs to donate
and then it's like, well, I do. And I did even back then where they were saying that, but I was doing it privately. Sometimes it comes out in tax filings because like I gave 170 grand to the Amazon labor union, right? I didn't talk about it, but it came out because someone wrote an article about it. And in the article, they were like, Hasan Piker was the largest individual donator to the Amazon labor union. And it came out after the fact. And then motherfuckers were still saying it's a tax write-off. It wasn't even a tax write-off. It's not even a fucking 501c3. So like, it doesn't matter. People were like, oh, you don't donate enough of your money. And then you do, and then they say, oh, you're doing it for clout, and it's because it's a tax write-off. It's not even a fucking tax write-off, and that's not how tax write-offs work anyway. It doesn't mean that like you get money in return from the government or some shit. And then they're like, oh, well, he's just donating money. He's donating other people's money because he's fundraising. It's like, but I donate my own money as well. Then they're like, oh, that's a tax write-off. And then they're like, oh, he's not going out there and doing it. And then when I go out there and do it, they're like, oh, well,
you're using the homeless people
you're
for
using
clout.
the homeless people for clout. And it's like, there's no winning.
Well,
so but that's the point. There doesn't need to be a PRW there. I'm not doing this so that motherfuckers like turn around and say, oh, he's a good guy. I'm doing this because it makes me feel good. It's something that I believe. It's something that I think I want to do. It's something that also gives me a tremendous amount of fulfillment. So that's why I do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to tell other content creators as well. Just like, fuck the noise, dude. Just do the good things. Like, do good things. Do right by others. Be a good person. Who gives a fuck if people are constantly chirping? Like, yeah, everyone is angry. Everyone feels the economic pressures. Everyone feels isolated. Everyone feels alienated. Everyone is angry all the fucking time. So when they see like some rich asshole that is clipped for like 15 seconds and it makes you feel even further, like it makes you feel like that's an appropriate vector for anger. You just redirect it at that, and you get a sense of community by yelling at this one guy that you probably don't care about at all otherwise. Right. That's it. That's just in the moment. You can't let shit like that stress you out all the time.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's interesting as a content creator. I mean, before I was really even considering myself a content creator, how I built what I was building wasn't even trying, because at this point, back in fucking, I don't even know, 2013 when I first started making YouTube videos, whatever it was, or 2014, there was no money, you know, when you first start.
Yeah.
And all the content that I made was just like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is my relationship to it. And it's interesting because like that's what also brought me all the success and all the money, was just doing something like you're speaking about from a different lens or from a different time, obviously. But it was just what I really wanted to do because it's who I was. And I felt like I was doing things that if it was helping them, and then in turn, it was actually helping me. And I wasn't even trying to get help. I was just trying to make content. And then it turned into my whole business.
Yeah, no, it's very fulfilling. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, the fulfillment part of it, like you said, when you speaking to content creators, like do it because you actually care about it.
Yeah.
Is the fucking key.
Yeah.
That's the fucking key to like actually being able to have sustainable and like long-term success in this industry for sure.
Yeah. And that's why I'm able to do 8 to 10 hours, even though people are constantly fucking chirping in my ear.
Because you actually care about it.
Yeah. But the point I couldn't even get across is still because I fucking weave harder than Donald Trump does.
Yeah, that's dope.
Is
you came back to it.
Yeah.
Just like him.
Yeah, just like Donald. Just like Don.
God.
The point I was trying to make is that even before I fucking went out there, someone in my chat was saying like, oh, you're doing this to exploit homeless people. I described the process, but I got fucking mad because I'm like, be charitable. Like, what the fuck do you think? Like, do you not know? Have you not been in here long enough to know that like I'm not gonna fucking be an asshole and like shove a camera in someone's face and like exploit them for content? Like, why are you so cynical? You know?
Yeah.
I've been doing this for fucking years. And they clipped it. They posted it on Reddit. It went viral. Everyone's like, nobody actually watched it after the fact. Nobody actually cared that like I had taken the necessary precautions. We didn't film any of the people that didn't want to be filmed, or like that we didn't ask for prior consent from, you know what I mean? I didn't do all of that. And yet people still went with that narrative because they just want to hate.
Yeah.
It's a fun way for a lot of people to interact with others that they think are like-minded individuals. And in that brief moment, it's like opening up a bag of chips. It's not healthy for you, but it feels good in that moment.
Yeah,
you know,
chips are
probably
so
fucks you up. It probably fucks you up in the long run, especially if you keep consuming the chips over and over again. Before you know it, you're fucking, you know, you're
so good,
300 pounds.
So
they
good.
are good.
Jalapeno kettle chips.
Oh,
fuck,
yeah,
bro.
fuck yeah.
God, dude.
But that's the point. You do it. It's unhealthy. People kind of understand that chips are unhealthy now, but they don't understand that like doing that on social media is also just as unhealthy, if not less healthy than even eating the fucking chips.
Yeah.
But that's why they do it.
I don't know if that shit ever changes though, man. Cause that's just a human thing. Like to know what you know at that point and you just make your choices off of it. And like the ecosystem we're in now is like, there's so many.
Yeah, it's like rewarded.
Absolutely. Especially on the internet.
Yeah.
It's super rewarding because, like, you know, people get the top comment. It's like they get the likes. And we all said that. Fuck him, whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird, man. Because, like, I don't know. Just the world we're in now as far as social media, like, it just seems like there's no unraveling this shit. It seems like it's only going to speed to, you know, I hate to be cynical or nihilistic, but it just seems like it's speeding to just fucking something bad.
I agree. And I think that sense of like that feeling of despair is and also the inability to change things is something that virtually every American feels. Is most people feel that, I think, right now. Something's got to change, but I don't know how we're going to get there. I do think that's why things like Luigi Mangione happened, though, because at a certain point, you know, someone's just like, fuck this. I'm taking matters into my own hands. And then, you know.
You don't find it weird how much like press they've given that after? Like the walks and the.
No, I think they're trying to make an example out of him.
But
I think
it's almost like you make an example and then like someone else can be like, that guy got a bunch of clout and people think he's hot. I'm going to do it too. So it's like, are they trying to make that a thing that happens more often?
No, they're trying to fucking be like, dude, a buddy of mine is a great journalist, Ken Klippenstein. He got a NYPD memo that said that like people who are openly pro Luigi Mangione will also be treated as like hostile, like treated as though they are also, you know, pro terrorism. And that's the reason why they hit him with manslaughter 1 in New York State. That means you did a murder in the act of terrorism, or you killed a cop, basically. This normally everybody gets manslaughter 2 in New York. Manslaughter 1 is only reserved for people who kill cops, cop killers. They say, you know, you shoot a peace officer if you shoot an EMT or a firefighter, but nobody's shooting fucking EMTs and firefighters. They're shooting cops, right?
Yeah.
So it's for cop killers. It's a very high, it's a higher penalty. Or if you are murdering someone in an act of terror.
So they're considering that an act of terror.
Yes. Killing a fucking healthcare CEO is considered an act of terror. People get murdered every fucking day in this country. You murder one rich guy, that's terrorism. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because those are the real people. Those are the only people that matter. And I think the media is so invested in like trying to fucking finger wag at people. And I think they're missing the mark a little bit because they just make him look cooler and cooler. Like that fucking prep walk that the perp walk that they did, that made him look like he's the fucking Joker. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
what is he, like Superman? Like,
and one of the cops had like some nice shoes on. Like,
I
was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he wore his Sunday
But
best.
it just seems like it's going to be a documentary and it's going to be a Netflix thing. But it's in a weird way. It's also just not even a weird way. They're glorifying it.
100%. But if he was like some fucking sick, twisted pedophile serial killer, even if they perp walked him, it wouldn't have that same impact. Sure, there's still crazy people that like, you know, jerk off to Charles Manson or whatever, right? There's like a medical term for it. I think it's called like hysterophilia or something. I don't know.
To specifically Charles Manson?
No, to serial killers. Like people that like fantasize and fall in love with like serial killers.
They always say don't fuck with girls that like serial killer like documentary. They say that's a thing. Something about that. I don't know.
You're eliminating like 90% of the dating pool. I think that's like I think women love true crime, man. What? They love true crime.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I've always wondered that.
They like the bad boy.
A buddy of mine, I think a buddy of mine thinks it's like the women's fantasy. Like the male fantasy is like you apprehend a school shooter. Like you put yourself in a position where you engage in hand-to-hand combat.
Hero,
yeah, you're the hero. And I've talked to some people that they think that like it's there's pageantry to the deaths almost, where they're like you have the beautiful victims that everyone feels bad about. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I can't.
You've seen the same thing with like the Menendez brother thing came out and was like how all these girls showed up to their trials and the girls are showing up to this guy's trial.
Yeah, but it's not even just girls that are showing up to his trial, but I think like they're making it seem like that to try to like soften the impact a little bit, to be like, yeah, no, it's just like silly girls that love him, that want to fuck him because he's hot. It's like people were celebrating this before they found out what the motherfucker looked like.
And yeah, I see
people were everybody immediately, universally understood what was going on before they knew the official motive of the shooter. When they found out who the victim was, you say Universal Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson assassinated in broad daylight in New York City. Everyone was like, "Oh, I know what happened." Why did everyone immediately understand the motive?
Being that they thought that this person got killed because of the healthcare system somehow.
Yeah.
But do you think that's killing someone's not necessarily a good thing in any case?
Yeah, of course. If you were to handle all your problems that way, there'd be societal collapse. You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone cuts you off, you just fucking dumb them.
Man, that's like the Wild West.
That's what I mean. You can't have that. That's not like, you can't foster a normal and productive society like that.
So what do you think why do you think they're trying to scare people from not doing it? It's almost like,
I think they're trying to punish people and finger wag people and try to get like at least, I don't know, anyone who's like over the age of 65 that watches television to also be on board. Because like the reality of the matter is, if you're 65 plus, you just listen to what the TV is saying and you just kind of repeat it. It doesn't matter. You watch ABC, you're a liberal. You watch Fox News, you're a conservative.
My mom loved me. Yeah. Bless us, love my mom so much, but man.
But that's it. Like if the television man says like, this is bad, you shouldn't feel good about this. In most circumstances, people will go, okay, I shouldn't feel good about this if they're over the age of 65. Social media is an entirely different universe, right? Yeah. But I think that's the major reason as to why they are doing so much coverage on it, where they're like, this is bad. You should feel bad. This person had a family. This person had children. And a lot of people who are under the age of 65, who don't give a fuck about what TV man is saying, look at that situation and go, you know who else had a family? Me, motherfucker. And then you denied my mother's chemotherapy bills. Like you denied her chemotherapy claims that she paid for. So fuck you.
Insurance, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so bad that like insurance is so like the corrupt influence of for-profit healthcare is so fucked up in this country. Other rich people hate it. Other CEOs, I looked at his LinkedIn post. Brian Thompson posted on LinkedIn like 2 years ago. And talking about like, here are numerous ways in which like we're trying to be better for our, for the people that we're taking care of, right? There are other CEOs in the replies being like, fuck you. 2 years ago, not before he got killed. I'm saying on LinkedIn, you got other CEOs going, no, dude, your fucking company is awful. You denied, you denied my medical coverage for an immediate family member. Like I'm suffering. So that's how fucked up the situation is. The fourth most profitable company in the country, right? You got their profit margins are 6%. It's $33 billion in net profit that they brought in. $33 billion in 2024. For doing what? What the fuck does an insurance provider do? What do they do?
Asking me?
What do you, I mean,
what do I think they do? So what normally you pay insurance and what they're supposed to do is that when something happens, they cover a larger portion of what you would be paying if you weren't. Yeah.
But their entire profit margin relies on being a middleman that doesn't need to exist and doesn't even exist in some countries at all. And their entire profit margin, their entire profit structure incentivizes insurance companies to deny claims. That's how they make the money. They get the money from you.
And I've been there as well.
Yeah. They get the money from healthy people, right? And they leverage the healthy people who they know are not going to need a payout against the people that do need a payout, and because they need medical care, right? Medical care is already incredibly costly, and partially it's incredibly costly because of insurance, because the insurance company has no incentive of like lowering the cost of medical care. In some instances, like with these pharmacy benefit managers that was supposed to be in the bill that they were supposed to pass in the Clean Resolution Bill in Congress, pharmacy benefit managers are literally owned by United Healthcare and all these other fucking major health insurance companies. They were incentivized to increase the cost of pharmaceuticals because of the rebates that they were getting. So like in many circumstances, they're just making it more expensive overall because it doesn't matter to them how costly insurance is or how costly healthcare is. It's beneficial for them to be for healthcare to be costly because nobody wants to pay $200,000, right? Yeah. To the doctor. So they have to get insurance.
Yeah.
So you have to get insurance. How do they make the money? They fuck over the people that are sick. They get the money by telling people who are sick, oh, we're not going to pay for that. That's how they make the money.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there. But so this is what I'm saying. Goes back to what I was saying earlier, is like the system completely is just like, we're chalked.
I mean, yeah, you can throw your hands up and be like, this sucks. What the fuck are we going to do? But that's why I'm so stubborn. And that's why I keep fucking pushing through no matter what, because I'm like, this has to be solved somehow. Because
do you think it'll be solved in your lifetime?
Hopefully. But my goal always, and this is what I tell other people as well, is that you got to take the steps necessary to move in the right direction. Even if that change doesn't happen in your lifetime, ultimately, society can only foster and grow when old men plant seeds for trees they will never sit in the shade of. So you just got to keep putting, one foot in front of the next and moving in that direction, even if change is not immediate, because change is never immediate.
Yeah. Especially change on that scale and that sort of like,
especially when you got fucking a company that makes almost $500 billion in revenue. That's it. That's United Healthcare. Their revenue for the fiscal year 2024 was almost
they're number one as far as the healthcare goes, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
And also they're number one in claims, in denial of claims, 32%.
Yeah,
that's fucking insane. That means like people that paid for a product, right? 32% of them got this in return. That's insane. And this isn't like your fucking Starbucks barista messing up your order, you know? You can come back tomorrow and get the right,
your life in some cases. Yeah.
It's, in most cases,
right.
It's your fucking life. You either have to go through medical bankruptcy, which is insane that it even exists. Like, this concept does not exist in other countries. There's no such thing as a medical bankruptcy in any other fucking country. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
Richest nation on earth. And, it either fucks your life up, directly kills you, because they're like, yeah, we can't pay for this coverage, so you can't get it. Yeah. What do you do then? You just die, I guess.
Yeah.
Or it ruins your life permanently because now you're saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Yeah. But that's what's the fix then? Changing the policy?
Yeah, changing policy. But good luck changing policy when politicians on one side of the aisle are talking about fucking, trans bathrooms or whatever the fuck. And politicians on the other side of the aisle are not even doing a good enough job defending against that and have no real interest in like actually fixing that system either, because their sons and daughters are also working at those companies. They're also getting millions of dollars from these companies in campaign financing. And the media is also, in the midst of that Luigi Mangione coverage. What happens when the advertisers kick in? You got United Healthcare advertisers on the fucking exact same channel, So it's an entire system designed so that you don't recognize the cruelty of the system itself. It does it by telling you should fear the other. It does it by telling you that you should fear your neighbor in some instances, that your neighbor that has the same exact problems that you do in terms of like paying rent or in terms of fucking putting food on the table, the cost of goods getting higher and higher, or how expensive it is to like send your son or daughter to fucking the best possible school so they can get a leg up in life. Those people are your enemies. Those people are the people you have to fear. Those people are the people you have to despise. And it also tells you that like there's no alternative. The alternative is so much worse, so scary. Death and destruction,
But it is exactly that. It's funny. It is currently exactly that in a lot of ways for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh man. I wish I could just fucking change. We would just start over.
Yeah. It'd be a little reset.
I think we need that.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Well, on a lighter note, what do you do in your spare time?
I'm playing Marvel Rivals. I'm so invested.
I saw you
good.
streaming once. I texted you. I was like, yo, I gotta come. I'll play support.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We always need support.
Who do you main?
I main Venom. I'm a diver. I'm an off tank.
I never liked playing tank classes in those games because I played a lot of Overwatch before I played Rivals. But I've never been a big tank.
So you're a DPS or a support?
DPS was, and it was funny because people, when they watch me, I'll stream and fuck around. They'll be like, why are you not like Reinhardt or Venom or something like that?
Yeah.
Just like helping, helping the team.
No, support, I think, is the most important. Good support versus bad. Like, you can have bad DPS and it's fine. You can still win.
Yeah.
But if you have bad support, you're done. You can't win any fucking games.
That's how Overwatch was the same way.
Yeah.
That game's so fun, though.
Yeah. Bad support ruins tanks and ruins DPS as well. Support is like the backbone of the entire team. And bad tanks oftentimes, or bad DPS oftentimes, will not protect their flank. It will not protect the support, and then you're fucked. The moment, because
bro,
that's what I do as Venom. I go after the fucking Lunas and the Mantises. I just fucking dive in, and just pummel and swing out.
Dude, we'll play. We'll have to play. But one more question about you and your, I guess, journey. But you came to the gym, or you texted me the other day, and you're like, "Yo, they're gonna write something about you in some sort of like thing."
Oh yeah,
what was that?
There's an article coming out about like people who feel homeless in the Democratic Party, and this buddy of mine it connected me with this journalist that wanted to write a piece on it. So he came and like he basically was with me for 4 days.
But you hit me up to say like you were going to mention me in it. Why were you going to mention me in it?
Oh, because I thought like they wanted to see like a full scope of like how I do things and like who I interact with. So while we sporadically interact with one another, I thought like it would be a good opportunity to be like, well, Bradley is someone who is an influencer. Yeah. You've interviewed, I think you've interviewed like, I don't know if you interviewed Trump. Did you interview Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, for that reason, it's just like to show that I also
you're not just an
collaborate
echo
with
chamber guy.
Yeah. I just like, well, I collaborate with other content creators that are not, that don't agree with me politically.
And what is what is the rest of the thing about? Just about you and your journey?
It's more so about, I don't know. I mean, it's dependent on what the editors want to change it to, because it can,
I guess you
it can
said,
turn into a fucking hit piece on me. Honestly, like I genuinely don't know. That's always a fear when you work with legacy publishers. Like they have so much access to your life, and they can just on a dime flip it.
Yeah, because we were there. It was funny. We were at the gym, and you were like, "Yeah, he was writing everything." So whatever you say, I got the vibe like whatever you say, he could write about.
No, I mean he's a good dude, but ultimately it's not even up to the journalist. It's up to the editor. The editor can just like massage a piece in a very different fashion. Most people don't know that.
But it was essentially about the people who don't feel like they have a home in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Was it just because of the way that the election had gone that they were like, okay, we got to like look into this?
I think that's part of it, because like I got a lot of I was very critical of the Democratic Party, but at the time before the election, people were running victory laps like Kamala was putting numbers on the fucking board or some shit, and I kept saying, guys, this is dire. The situation is dire. You don't understand. I said it at the DNC. I went to the fucking DNC.
I saw that. Yeah.
They did kick me out on the last day for my pro-Palestinian advocacy, but it's
Why
fine.
Why would they kick you out for that?
So just like every organization, there are people that don't agree with me being there, and then there are people that wanted me to be there, and that was already like there was a lot of internal strife for that reason. And I am a loudmouth, and I don't hold back just because someone is being hospitable to me. I'm not like a party loyalist by any means.
Yeah, because I saw you on like some sort of like announcing table talking.
Yeah,
it looked like at least it was in the backdrop.
Yeah, they put me in a primo slot. I had the same fucking box that like Jake Tapper had.
Yeah,
which was crazy. But then they took me out of the box.
How soon were you there until they took you out?
Oh, I was there. So the first day was nothing. Like they weren't ready for it. They didn't fully understand. I took advantage of the fact that they don't fully understand what I do. Like they knew my position was like critical to the Democratic Party, but they didn't understand the logistics of like what I do, I think. So they were like, "Oh, what do you need?" And I was like, "I need a table. That's all I need. Just give me a desk and a fucking hardline internet access and I'm good." So the first day they didn't do that. Second day they put me in like some, high rise like room for all these other influencers, the creators for Kamala. And I got a bar cart and I fashioned it into a desk. And I got internet access and basically I stream from that room, and there's like all these fucking the hairy Hasans that are all like right next to me.
Oh my God.
Eating crudités or whatever, and like listening to Barack Obama speak, and I'm like turned in the opposite direction, locked in, talking to my chat. And then the second day they were like, "Oh, we got to put you in a room because like you're around these other people. We can't do that." So they put me in a balcony.
That's where I saw you.
Yeah, the balcony of this like box that they were using for like interviews in and out. And they even kicked me out of that balcony one time because like Elizabeth Warren was supposed to come in or something. It's fine. You know, I was very grateful to even be fucking invited.
Yeah.
I didn't even think they would invite me. So for me, I'm like, I'll take it. You know what I mean? From where I'm standing, I was like, anything I do here is a dub for me.
Yeah.
You know? But I had already knowing full well that they could at any moment revoke my access. I already set up in my hotel room as well, knowing full well that like that could have been a problem, you know, down the line. So the third day, they're like, okay, we're going to put you. First day, didn't do anything. Second day, bar cart. Third day, box. Fourth day is the last day. That's when all the Palestinian, the uncommitted movement was like, very frustrated that they hadn't let like a Palestinian person speak at all. And the night prior, they had the family members of an Israeli hostage come out and speak, and they were very critical of Benjamin Netanyahu too. Like they were the ones who were like, he's standing in the way of peace, which is true, right? So, but then people were like, okay, well now it's time to have a Palestinian American who's a Democratic Party delegate, right? Like this is not a random Palestinian American. This is a person who's going to vote for Kamala Harris. This is a person who is a part of the Democratic Party. Can they speak? And they said no. And then the uncommitted movement protested outside the DNC, and I went and I interviewed them, and I tweeted. There was a back and forth. There was a little bit of like media chaos happening at that moment, and some people were going to the press to be like, "Oh, they actually never really sent like a real speaker or something. They were lying." The DNC was lying.
Yeah.
So I tweeted out, the DNC is operating like Israel, just lying.
Oh, shit.
And then I think like 30 minutes later, while I was being interviewed by the New York Times in front of 70,000 people watching, live concurrent viewers, they came up and they were like, you got to leave.
Because of the tweet.
I think that tweet
Yeah.
was the straw that broke the camel's back, where they pointed to that, I think, to be like, it was just too close.
What
it
the
was too
fuck?
close. They had given me assurances too, like that I would have the box for the entire day. And then they were like, nope. And then I was like, where can I go? And they're like, nowhere. And then they revoked my access to that like area.
This is interesting now that you have someone writing a piece on the people who don't feel like they have a home in the Democratic Party because they kicked you out.
But I think like all
You think
of
that was part of the reason why?
all of that I think factored into my regular criticisms of like the Harris campaign. Why are you putting up Liz Cheney like in the forefront? Why are you only trying to go after these like Republicans that are going to vote Democrat? That's not going to happen. Try to fucking solidify the base. If you want to win, like make a statement about Gaza that's different than fucking 800-year-old Joe Brandon, right? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, are you guys trying to lose? Like, what the fuck is happening here? You're going to lose to Donald Trump again. And there was this like sense of unearned confidence that the Democrats had because they'd raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of attention. And I was very worried and very concerned with the way that they were operating and very frustrated by the end of this process, saying like, you guys are going to fucking lose.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I was right.
Yeah.
So after the election, I think people just like kind of looked for someone who had maybe seen the warning signs ahead of time.
Yeah.
And I happen to be one of those people. And also because like my audience is almost entirely comprised of like all of these demographics that left the Democratic Party, like young men.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think that my audience is all just like, I don't know, women or like little children or whatever. No, it's like Amazon drivers. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those are the motherfuckers that are delivering your packages and they have me in their ear, you know? And community organizers, like people like that.
Yeah.
That you know, union workers. So, and a lot of them are young. A lot of them are young men between the ages of like 18 to 35, a demographic that like went to Trump by pretty fucking solid numbers.
Massively.
Like shocking numbers.
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, who's the work, not the working class whisperer, but like who speaks to young men more convincingly? And then they were like, who's the Joe Rogan of the left? Oh, it's this guy. And I was like, I'm not, like, that's not a thing. You can't. Joe Rogan used to be the Joe Rogan of the left, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people are trying to play catch up, to be like, what happened? How do we get here? How do we lose like this?
Do you think they fix it before the next election?
No.
Fuck.
No, because this is the process. Like, this is how they stay in power. So they don't want to disrupt that, I think.
You think it's just wait.
They just lose and then they fundraise off of the losses. That's what they did with abortion. Like, that's what the Democrats do. They lose and then they fundraise off the losses. When they're in power, when they actually have power, when they can actually legislate, they don't actually push the agenda that they promised that they would deliver on. I mean, there are examples of this. There's numerous examples. Last time, I guess, is like the 60-person majority that Obama had in the Senate. And even that was on shaky grounds. But there's like plenty of things that even the Biden administration, not to get too into the details here, but there were instances where the Biden admin could have applied pressure on a lot of these like funding bills that only need a simple majority, which the Democrats had. But there were players, what I like to call rotating villains within the Democratic Party, that would constantly spoil those bills. They'd be like, no. Oh, you want $15 minimum wage? No, you can't have that. I won't vote on that. And what like Trump does really well, that I wish the Democrats would do as well, is whip those votes. Trump would just be like, oh, you're not going to play ball? Okay, I'm going to primary you. You're not going to play ball? I'm going to call you a fucking, loony leftist or whatever. Or I'm going to say you're a rhino. And then all my fucking diehard fans are going to own you. Like, they're going to hate you. They're going to despise you. They're never going to vote for you again. And I think that way you create party unity. You force party unity to happen.
Interesting.
And that's why you can push your agenda. Democrats don't do that. And the reason why they don't do that is because they're not invested in actually doing these changes, because those changes are disruptive to the real power players. Republicans can get away with unity because their changes are not disruptive to power players. Their changes are not disruptive to those with money. Because what do they push for? They push for deregulation, which is beneficial for corporations and the wealthy. They push for tax cuts, which is also beneficial for the corporations and the wealthy. You can get away with doing those things, and you can whip votes for that within your party. It's much more difficult to create unity in the party when your goal is to undermine this almost $1 trillion industry of healthcare, right?
I feel like they tried to do the shit talking though at the end. They were just like, Trump's fucking Hitler. Look, they're like, he has a rally at Madison Square Garden. He's Hitler. Hitler did that.
I mean, look,
they tried. But it also like looked crazy. It was like, what are you talking about?
I think that you can't do that while also simultaneously being like, I want to build a border wall. You can't say Trump's border wall is racist and then turn around
and then be like, we're going to do it.
Yeah, and then turn around and be like, but we want to build a border wall now, and Trump doesn't want to build a border wall. You look like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You look like a fucking hypocrite. You look like an idiot. And you look like a liar. Because you are a liar. I don't want the border wall. I don't give a fuck about the border wall. I think it's meaningless. I think it's a waste of money. It's stupid. I think that like a better pathway for immigration and better processing would literally eradicate a major aspect of the cartel that, traffics people over the border. You would cripple the cartel financially that way.
Because they make a ton of money.
Yeah, you would cripple the cartel also if you had better gun laws as well in America, because like almost every single gun that the cartel uses, and they got kits out there that make you look like a fucking Delta Force operator.
Have real guns.
Those motherfuckers have like American guns. How the fuck do they get them?
Yeah,
how do they get them?
Yeah, in Texas.
It's not even just Texas. It's like the CIA. That's how they fucking got them.
But so what? The CIA is giving these fuckers guns?
Oh, fuck yeah. Absolutely. The CIA is the #1 drug trafficker on the planet.
Why are they? fuck?
Oh, absolutely.
It's so deep.
I mean,
man.
this is like that's not even like what I'm saying here is not even like a secret, really. I mean, it's contested for.
But in what settings were they like? Here's the guns. Like where
They ship drugs, they buy the drugs, and for the drugs they give military hardware. And
CIA.
they also purchase. I mean, obviously, cartels also purchase small arms
saying
from
the CIA's like, yo,
regular gun shops as well.
You're saying the CIA's like, yo, we need some drugs.
I mean, are you familiar with the Iran-Contra affair?
No.
So this is precisely what they did illegally, and it was investigated, and Oliver North was found to be guilty of doing this. But there was a scheme where they just like basically it gave bombs to Iran in exchange for weapons, and I think it was the Contras were trafficking drugs, and also simultaneously being armed by the American government so they could do regime change. And yeah, there's a massive network of drug trafficking that like played a formative role in funding a lot of these operations, both for the CIA and in general for these militant groups. And America doesn't give a shit ultimately because they can sell all the drugs they want at the end of the day, as long as they are disruptive and as long as they can create regime change, as long as these countries don't become like socialist or whatever, they're fine, you know? And they train these guys to do it as well. What? But the reason why I said the CIA with the Mexican cartel specifically is because there are certain like initial cartels that were directly, I think, trained by the American military, and also sometimes they also directly get they directly scout the federal agents as well, like federal operators as well in the Mexican government, who also are a part of like a security arrangement with the American government, so they get training from the American government. It's I didn't do a great job of explaining it. This is very reductive, but yeah.
Dude, you know who you should do a pod with? You should do a pod with Joe Rogan.
I would.
I saw you retweet that.
Oh yeah, that's this. I used to be a massive Joe Rogan head. I've met Joe Rogan before.
I have too. I love Joe Rogan.
I've hung out with Joe Rogan. Back in the day, dude. He was a TYT fan, like many years ago, before I was ever like on camera. Like I went to the Improv. And it was me and Anna Kasparian, and we like after his set, he just like sat with us for like 2-3 hours, and we just talked.
Dude, I love Joe. He's
he
dope.
Probably does not remember that, but it was a very important memory for me.
Yeah, you should go on it. I think it'd be good.
I would love to, but I don't think you'd let me on.
Why not?
I don't know. I just you know,
just the political shit?
I've also criticized him too much.
You have?
Yeah, I don't think he's he's too fond of people that are, you know.
I think it'd be either way though. I think it'd be a good interview.
I think it could be. I think
also
it'd be a
even
fun
because
conversation.
of that, like that would make it more interesting from my perspective, at least. Something I'd definitely watch.
Yeah, no, I would love to. I'd love to go on Joe Rogan.
Did you get shit for saying that, like from your base? Where they're like, because you retweeted it like you wanted to go on it, kind of.
Oh no, I've always said that I would love to go on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Yeah, people are like, oh, he's problematic. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
people give me shit for coming on this podcast too. I don't give a shit.
What the fuck, man?
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everyone is biased for someone that they like, and I think it's more about like their own personal investment. If they trust you, if they like you, then they give you a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
With doing things. If they agree with your message, they don't give a shit overall. They understand it. But then there are a lot of people who just hate. And it's not just that they can't just be like, I don't like that person's content and just let it live like that. They have to like moralize it. They have to be like, no, I don't like this person's content because he's a truly evil person. And it's like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think you're an evil guy, man. I think you're a good guy.
I don't think I'm an evil guy either, but thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And I appreciate you coming on the way you did, for real.
Oh yeah, of course.
Fucking
no,
time after time.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, yeah. I love coming on this podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for your time. I know you got some other shit you got to do.
No, I still have another interview that I got to conduct now.
What if there's something you could leave off with as far as like, I don't know, hope, right? Hope of this being or people coming together. Is there any sort of like, because you're in it. You're so fucking in it. It's like, that's why I'm asking you specifically, because from my perspective, you obviously have, your biases like everyone does, but as far as people that I've communicated with, you seem to have the most like willingness to have the conversations, whether they're difficult or not. And, I feel like that's the person that would have the most insight.
I think there's a lot of space for growth in American society. And I think ultimately a lot of this pressure has to inevitably release. And it can go in a really scary direction, like mass deportations and concentration camps at the border, or through that cruelty, I think, or even the implementation of that cruelty can lead to people finally recognizing that this is like unsustainable. So I try to tell people, protect your own and try to focus on things that you can control in your life.
Yeah.
Because that will at least make you a healthier person at the end of the day. And you need to be healthy. You need to be a healthy individual to overcome whatever happens next.
It kind of sounds like things need to break.
I don't want things to break. I want things to be fixed. But,
of course, but
I don't think. But if
like,
it doesn't go in that direction, I think that inevitably things will break.
Yeah,
because this can't you can't have a million homeless people in the streets, man. You can't have a situation where like so many people are so deeply resentful of one another, and a lot of that resentment is coming from not fostering a sense of community. And also feeling the constant fucking pressure of, sucking the daily dick, basically, of just like going and working and doing route tasks over and over again for another person with the hopes that like maybe you'll be able to make rent and potentially go out one weekend and slam a couple fucking beers with the boys. And have shitty relationships and not have time to like focus on yourself, not have time to focus on others, your loved ones, and then rinse and repeat year over year, day in, day out. Like inevitably, I think it breaks people.
Absolutely.
And I think we're there. I don't want to be grim, but I think we're kind of there. I mean, we got so many fucking mass shootings happening. We got so much pain, so much violence overseas, violence domestically. Like something's got to give. And we'll see what happens. But I